I actually left the education system because I realized I was there to make an impact, and that impact was never going to be made within that system. They always say you can change it from within. You can do that if you do it before the system changes you.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another LT360 podcast. You know me, D. Foss, the host. I'm here today with a dude that lives out on the West Coast. His name is Kobi Asare. He is a health professional in the sense that he is actually creating wellness in his community, right? He's actually teaching people to drink amazingly big green juices. No, I'm just playing. And he is someone that I connected with really through Instagram, and we just ended up, continuously kind of contacting each other back and forth. I think our man Stefan Duvivier was in the middle of that. He's kind of the bridge gap. So I'm excited to get to know Kobi, as I think you guys will be able to learn a lot from him. So Kobi, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for your time. What do you have to say first? Can you give us a little introduction of like what you do on a day-to-day, how you identify?
Absolutely. So, let me first go by, giving you my full name here. Some may know me by other names. So my full name is John Kwabena Asare. I go by either Coach, I go by Kobi or Kobi. All of them refer to me. All roads lead to me. So that's I like giving people a little bit of freedom, man, to play with that, because all of it is true. We're so locked into like, oh no, my name is this. But like back in the day, man, you had all types of names. You got street names, government names, you got your village name, you got everything. So I just want to put that out there for the folks. But more than anything, man, I probably know by cut the noise, because that is kind of the philosophy I live by in general. Where I'm cultivating. Like you said, D. Foss. First of all, what do you prefer to go by? Is it D. Foss? Is it Dylan? What do you like?
Bro, I've heard everything. So Dylan, to like people I've known since I was really young, Dill Pickle.
Oh man, that's it.
D. Foss. When I was in high school, I wanted to go by DP3 because I was a big Chris Paul fan.
Okay.
So it's been everything. Some teammates and coaches just called me Foss. Yeah, I don't really mind any of them.
That I like D. Foss. It's kind of that's got a lot of weight to it.
Your looks.
I like that. Cool. And so yeah, like D. Foss said, we met through Instagram. The power of true, authentic connection. All right, the power of really putting out your authentic, standing in your truth, speaking your truth, and then see who it attracts.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how we connect. Like he said, I call him Stefan. I call him Air Doobie. That's my guy. Speaking of another authentic connection, man, we met on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We met on LinkedIn and then connected through, and then I went down to Florida, trained, and chilled with him for a little bit, with a day or two. We didn't actually really get to train that time, but I'll be back there for sure. And now we connect, and here I am talking to you. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's crazy. I connected with Steph through Instagram, kind of the same way I came across you. It was he had popped up through a mutual friend down here in the SoFlo kind of health community, and he popped up. I watched a video or two. I started commenting and just sharing some of his stuff and my thoughts with him, and then we did a podcast, and then now I see him like 3-4 times a week.
Wow, look at
that. So it's crazy. And what he was telling me yesterday when we balled was that you are actually a Tufts graduate too. You graduated from Tufts.
That's right. That's right. So I'm class of 2014. Right. Okay. It's not that long ago. Let me stop making it sound like I'm class of 65. But yeah, I'm a Tufts grad as well. Shout out all jumbos out there. love to connect with Jumbo. So anybody that's a Jumbo, definitely reach out, man. But that's kind of how I guess the algorithms crossed because you know he was put. I think Tufts featured him or something like that. And I was working in corporate at the time. I was actually account executive at a fintech company, and I was sitting there in between my calls, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, who was that? No, he did not jump over that. No, he did not. And then I clicked on it. I clicked on it and I was like, bro, I gotta see what's up with this guy right here. So that's how we connected, man.
That's crazy.
You didn't go to Tufts, right?
Nah, I went to LaSalle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was in the Boston area. I was down the street from Boston College. Before that, I was in Western Mass. I went to Anna Maria. But I played ball up there, so I was always familiar with, Tufts and just in general, athletics up there. There's so many schools, but, obviously it's a very high caliber school, and they're known a lot for creating a lot of good, you could say, medical professionals.
Understood.
Yeah. I think the same kind of concept, just crazy how all three of us have kind of gone through that health perspective of college, and now that we're out, we've really started to see it for what it is, and we're really trying to teach people that they gotta cut the noise out, right?
1,000, because there's a lot of it out here, man.
Yeah,
And,
I would love to hear how that came to you, like what cut the noise means to you and how you're trying to cultivate that into your life.
Yeah, I appreciate that's a great question. So cut the noise is really for me, truthfully, has evolved over the years. And it started out like kind of like, man, I was looking for something that I identified with. It's a phrase, a term, or something I identified with. And cut the noise kept coming back to me because of a number of reasons. One, my first love is history. Right. I was a history buff. I was that kid that all the adults would actually reference me like Google. Right. They're like, oh yeah, ask that, and and by the way, I'm Ghanaian, so I come from a Ghanaian community. So Johnny, he knows, ask him, right? All the uncles tossing it over to me. What year was this? 1970. Okay, cool, got it. And I loved it, man. I thought it was great because I love stories, right? I love stories. But as I got through my education, I got through college, I got post-college, I was actually teaching history, 10th grade world history. I rewrote that entire curriculum to move from a Eurocentric focused history class to more of a, quite frankly, I tried to fit in as much Africa and Asia as I could. Right. So I shifted it pretty dramatically. But I say all that to say I was having like a love-hate relationship with history because I started to realize just how much of it was doctored, how much of it was incomplete, how much of it, they say history is written by the victors, but truthfully, like it doesn't really, it's deeper than that. It's actually closer to the book, George Orwell's book, 1948?
1984.
84. I always mess up the numbers, by the way. 1940. Oh, I flipped it. Interesting. Yeah. History, not math. All right. So it's closer to that in that we're continuously editing history to reflect what those in power would like it to reflect. And as the generations move along and they control the educational system, they can actually make us forget, not just forget, they can literally switch things dramatically around. And I started to realize how many things were not just incorrect, but they were literally the direct opposite, right? Like if you just flip it, you would get closer to the truth. I don't think we'll ever really get the truth, to be honest. We're too far gone because one of the first things they do in war is what? They burn, right? Besides the terrible things like rape the women, kill the children, or enslave the children, rape the women, and kill the men. They also burn the books. They take the knowledge that they want for themselves, and then they burn the books, right? So I come from that perspective instead of the health perspective, say that there's so much of it is actually just noise. It's actually just noise to distract us and to lead us down a path that we should be going down, or that at least they want us to go down, right? And they back it up with history, right? They back it up with, and same thing with in medicine and health. So in seeing that, that's really where it kind of came from. It originated from. Then as my interest in health post-college, I actually left the education system because I realized I was there to make an impact. And that impact was never going to be made within that system. They always say you can change it from within. You can do that if you do it before the system changes you.
Okay, I like that.
Right. So for me, I started to train a lot more. I became a PT, and I started to just be around the mainstream health a lot more. And I started and taking my history type brain, I just started crushing whatever I could. I had a mentor who I would visit every Saturday. Shout out Mr. John Abochi. And he would always give me a hard drive, like literal hard drive, like a little flash stick of books, videos, and everything. He said, "Come back when you're done." Now he would expect me to come back in like a month, 2 months. I came back every week because I was done. Right? I was chewing through stuff and then I started to realize it's not just history. It's also our health. It's also our money. Yeah. It's also it's also everything.
Yeah.
That's where I came to cut the noise, because I wanted to focus on the 20% of things that produce 80% of results in life. Because we all want the same thing, is what I realized. We all want the same thing. So why aren't we getting there? What's there's coming from an abundance mindset? There's enough for everybody. So what's the issue?
Yeah.
So
I like that idea. Yeah, I like that idea of it's like whatever you've accepted as of now is what determines your next choice, right? So if this, then that. So if you accept the doctrinated history that the war ended or started because of this certain situation, then your next, assumption, essentially, right? You're jumping to conclusions, is that, okay, well now, because it ended like that, then this will be the next one or something along those lines.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's it.
The same thing would be, true for health, right? If green plants have more phytonutrients, then I will eat more of them, right? So you're accepting that scientific doctrination and saying, okay, well, because I think that is true, now I'm going to take action on what would make more sense. But that can be easily twisted and manipulated.
1000%. I think that is a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
I always say you can't build on a cracked foundation. True. Right? You can't build a straight house, at least. Or you can build on a cracked foundation, but you can't build a straight house on a cracked foundation. That's kind of where we are with history, with health, right? If we look at it, all of this sort of intergroup and intra-group difficulties and issues and problems that we have, both sides don't want them. So why do we have them?
That's valid.
Because we assume
the same battles, right? From two different perspectives. It's like we're trying to get on the same road, right? And we're going at it from different directions. It doesn't make any sense.
1000%. 1000%. So yeah, that's it right there. And the reason why we connected, because that's what you just said, is on the same wave, man. Same wave.
There's always a reason, right? There's a true way to break through the what could be very indoctrinating and kind of evil manipulation of technology, right? But how can we be authentic and use it for good?
That's it.
Because it can infinitely make a good impact as well.
That's right. That's right. Because it's not nothing is inherently good or bad. It's the application.
I love that. So all right. So you've heard the story of the Chinese farmer?
I think I may know where you're going, but I want you to go ahead and say it. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so the
And
Chinese
the
farmer.
businessman?
What'd you say?
And the businessman? No, tell the
No,
story. Let's hear it.
no. So a Chinese farmer, he ends up losing a horse,
Mm,
and all the villagers come over. Hey, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That's a bad thing. Blah 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 blah. And he says, well, who's to say what is good or bad? His son ends up going out finding the horse, but when he comes back, the son breaks his leg, having to do with something with the horse. So the villagers come over. Oh, your son, he broke his leg. That's so bad. I can't imagine. That's terrible. Blah blah blah. So sorry. He goes, well, who knows what's good or bad? And then the next day, the military comes through the village and is recruiting all of the males that are 18 to 22 or whatever. And his son is within that range, but his son has a broken leg. So
mm,
they cannot take him and take him off to the military. And he says, the story continues to go on with these things that keep happening, and people keep saying, oh, that's so good or that's so bad. And he says, well, who's to say what is good or bad? And because nothing is inherently good or bad, which I always try to
mm,
tell that story when people bring up that concept.
mm. That is beautiful, man. It's if you find that story, I'm sure probably difficult to find, but if you find the written version, I would love to read that full thing.
Yeah, I think there's been like animations of it made as well, like YouTube videos.
Mm,
But I've heard it referenced by a lot of like successful entrepreneurial kind of people that
yeah.
are not um, kind of more on our wavelength, not super flashy, kind of successful people, but like the
You
mod.
too can have this phantom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You too
yeah.
should be have two airplanes.
You want to learn how I made six figures in 6 months
Yeah.
with absolutely nothing?
No, yeah. I sat there and manifested it from brainwaves.
Yeah.
I like, you know what? Honestly, I'd be like, oh, okay, all right, fine. Let's see.
Yeah,
Show
let's
me.
see. Let's see. I'm always willing to hear the spiel. Like I don't.
Yeah, hear me out. Because I
Hear
coming
what
from a
somebody
business
says.
background too. I'm curious. Like, how are you going to maneuver this? How are you going to spin this? So, like, hit me, bro. I'm all ears.
Because like you, I think you probably take this approach too, where like there's something to learn from absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So I remember I was listening to a podcast. I think it was yesterday, and it was something like completely unrelated to what I do, but there was something he talked about business and how it works from like this massive macro scale. And I started to think like within my business model, and I was like, oh, that perfectly applies. Okay, cool. And it could have been something that just completely passed me by. I would have never thought
Mm,
or used as a perspective or a skill to kind of manipulate what I'm doing and how to fine tune it. But there's always something you can take, always something. Or you just, you watch someone present their business model, right? Like the
mhm,
6 figures by doing nothing. And then all of a sudden you sit back and you're like, I might have something like a sentence or two in my spiel that's just it could be better because I just kind of
yeah.
heard something that made me say that doesn't make sense. But now that I think about it, I say something kind of similar to that. So let me tweak that. Let me fine tune it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy how it works.
Just like the story you just told, man. There's it goes back to yeah, the yin yang principle. All
Mm.
right. Cannot be, yeah. So I totally get that. I'll be curious if you want to share at all what your model is, business model is.
So I'll say my mission statement for
Yeah,
now.
let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Limitless Theory's mission is to provide individuals with a like-minded community that thrives on economic, nutritional, and fitness freedom. The goal
Mm,
is to educate our mind and our body. Uh, the goal is to educate ourselves how to master the mind and body we call our own, and individualized approaches and personalized plans allow everyone to create a customizable but flexible three-part lifestyle. So taking into consideration that we can create community and culture, the fact that we can create community and culture around fitness, nutrition, and financial freedom, right? So most people, I think, have a skewed perspective on what those three things mean. Like financial freedom really means time freedom, right? What allowing you to choose what you want to do with your time. From a fitness perspective, I think fitness freedom is being able to move your body physically however you want and have an amazing adaptability. Like someone wants to teach you a new movement or a new skill or put you in some sort of physical setting, and you're able to conquer that just because you've taught your body and you've mastered your physical body. And then from a nutrition standpoint, understanding how to efficiently fuel whatever it is that your body's doing. Everybody's doing something different on a day-to-day basis. So for some people, they've chosen a lifestyle that requires them to eat almost little to no food. And for some people that are athletes that are, maybe ridiculously burning an intense amount of, calories, it's not that they need to eat more because it's better for them in the long run as a human, but it might be the short-term best thing for them to eat more than that other person who doesn't do necessarily as much movement. So it's kind of taking into perspective that people do different things and not all of them are good for our long-term health, but there's ways to maneuver all of those different things and create freedom around it because you're educated and you're understanding what's actually internally going on and why you're making those decisions, instead of just being kind of the victim or the culprit, right? Like someone told me to do this and it's not working, damn it, and I get mad and I don't know why and I have no control over it. Whereas if you're educated and you say, okay, well, I stayed up late last night, now I know why I feel like shit the next day. Like, case in point, you're at least making a conscious decision, not just going through life subconsciously and not understanding what is causing you to feel like you're not getting what you want constantly. So
I appreciate, agree, love all of that.
Thank you.
we are simply said, we are in alignment.
Yeah. I wanna know what's in that green juice though.
Oh yeah, please. Let's see, what did I have this morning? Apples, parsley, parsley, lemon, ginger always, and a little bit of pineapple to kind of for taste more than anything.
Yeah, a little sweetness.
Yeah. So it's hitting the spot right now, man. It's just nice energy, nice base, good recovery, and gonna get me going right after this. I'm about to actually get active, so I'm about to hit some grape juice. And if you wanna get active, that thing right there, quick energy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
higher glycemic, right, impact, and be able to get muscle energy quickly, right? Glucose.
Right. So right post workout as well too, because as you know, the muscle is looking for quick food right after, right? So it all I really like sip. I don't I sip throughout
the day
as needed.
Okay. What I kind of want to dive more into your like day-to-day habits.
Sure.
For sure. So give us your perspective. I kind of gave a brief introduction of my perspective on nutrition. I teach it based off of quality, quantity, timing, and then any sort of support that you need on top of that. And usually that comes as a result of you've made bad choices so far, so you need a little bit of support to get you back on the road, or you are consciously, continuously making bad choices that you're not willing to give up. And I'm going to help you with the other, 95%, but for the other 5% you're not willing to change for your lifestyle, I will still try to help as much as possible. So quality, quantity, timing, and support is kind of how I layer. teaching someone nutritional habits and even my own. So I would love to hear how you kind of go about or what your perspective on nutrition is.
Sure. So as you know, everybody's different, right? Every situation is different. There are a lot of variables at play. So my first step with every individual is to reconnect them, because we're so disconnected from source, disconnected from our bodies, disconnected from all our three brains, right? So my first
Can you just explain real quick what you mean by three brains, just because that'll pass over some people's heads?
Yeah, sure. So we have the brain that we know, the mind. We have the brain of the heart and the brain of the gut. I focus on the gut. I believe it's the most primal and most, it's the most primal brain. It's the one that when we have a tough decision to make, we don't say, listen to your brain. We say, we say, what does your gut tell you?
Yeah.
Right. Or when we're in danger, what do we listen to our gut, our instincts. I believe when we're disconnected from that, we are really disconnected from our source of power. If I may nerd out a little bit and utilize Dragon Ball Z, if you will, right? Well, it's like we're cutting our tail, right? And by that it means that we don't have that superpower. We don't have. You mentioned not biophotons, but
phytonutrients.
Yes. So light energy, essentially, right? We're light beings. And we're so disconnected from that in so many different ways. Now, let me kind of get back on track a little bit here. So my first order of business is to reconnect, because once we reconnect, then we can decide, oh, okay, what direction do you need to go in now? Because now we have a call and response between the brains. And not just that, the gut brain, we have a call and response. We can say, okay, this is what it's telling me. Okay, great. This is the direction I need to go in. And reconnecting that, right? And so that's number one, reconnecting. Number two, I look at short-term, long-term, but short and long-term, right? Sure, you can say medium term too, but that's just a combination of short and long, right? And I'm looking at, where are you currently? What are you? Are you suffering from dis-ease? Any sort of dis-ease? Are you looking for performance? Are you looking for, and by performance, it's got to be modern day performance, right? Because a lot of our modern day sports are not natural. That's just my take on it. I believe there are very few sports that are actually natural to us, right? Because what's natural to us is being outside, it's climbing and very surface, it's hunting, we're not doing those things. We're putting a ball through a hoop, right? You know, I love it. Trust me, I love it, but that's not necessarily, but so when people say performance, they are modifying the body to adapt to that. Nothing wrong with that. The body is a beautiful machine and can adapt to anything you give it, right? But that's not necessarily what I'm thinking, unless the individual tells me that's what they want. Hey, I want to go ahead, please.
Can I tangent real quick?
Please.
That's where obviously nutrition and physical, freedom in my book connect, right? So fitness and physical freedom is being able to fuel your body for the type of performance you want, but also the ability to adapt to being what you actually are, which is a fucking human being. So if you are put in a life or danger situation out in nature, what is your capacity to actually deal with that? How resilient can you be, and how logical and resistant and in tuned can you be with what you need to do in order to survive?
That's it. And I say what I say, and you say what you just said, and it resonates with me because, bro, you take some of our quote unquote best athletes, they are dead in a short period of time in nature.
Yeah.
Like a short period of time, right? Because they're outliers.
Yeah.
Right. They're shout out LeBron, shout out Kevin Durant, but how long they lasting in the world, right? We've literally they've been in a bubble where they've been so specialized for so long. Like, I question their ability to adapt in the quote unquote real world. But what is, and that is what it is. And I don't want to sound like I'm not, I don't think that these people are amazing or whatnot. I just want people to understand that I meet a lot of people that are training, for example, like those individuals, when it's like, bro, you don't get paid to play basketball. You don't get paid to play football. You don't get paid to like, you don't, like, that's not what you do. You are not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Why is like 50% of the gym training like that?
Yeah.
That blows my mind. Also, looking at Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ron Coleman right now, you really want to be them?
Yeah, bro, they are completely disabled.
Oh my gosh.
Move and live is terrible.
Shout out Arnold. He's doing much better. But Ronnie, bro, my prayers to the king. But my goodness, bro. I don't know if you've seen that documentary on Netflix, bro, but that thing makes my heart break. Yeah. I can't.
Game Changers.
I don't quite remember the title of it, but I'm pretty sure you could find it with a quick Google search. Yeah. But it's so sad to see, like, King. This is, in my opinion, way better than Arnold. In my opinion, like, in terms of like what he did, right? Let me see if I can find it. Ronnie Coleman, Netflix. The King is literally called The King.
Oh, it's called The King. Okay.
Yeah. It's a great one. If you haven't seen it, I would watch. If you're out here training like a bodybuilder, but you don't make a living, I mean, if that's how you make a living, go for it, man. I don't think all ways to make a living are legit, but I don't knock anybody for that at all in any shape or form. But to get back to your original question, so I also look at what the individual tells me, right? And I take that. So I don't have, the one thing I have set is that reconnecting back to the brain. That's the one thing. I believe everybody should start there. I don't care where you've been or what. And reconnecting back to the gut for a couple of reasons. I mentioned just our intuition, our sixth sense, our biophotons, our ability to connect to all living things around us. I think that's incredibly important, because for me, ultimately, I'm looking at how does health change the world? It doesn't change the world just because I have a six pack and can attract all females. That's ridiculous. Like, that's great, good for you, young single man. Yeah, right. But I don't think that's the only goal, but that's the goal we've been sold. Mm-hmm. So the connection, that's one, right? Or reconnection, I should say, to gut, to sixth sense, to other living things, to everything, right? Then you got to look at it from the gut microbiome perspective and look at the actual health of it, right? Hippocrates teaches us that all disease originates from the gut. I mean, this is the father of so-called Western medicine. So if he says that, and literally that is one of the biggest statements he ever made, like, just ever. Yeah, I gotta think there's something to that, and he's not the only one. It's backed up by so many people that I'm sure you and I both study. Right.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that, right, he's the father of Western medicine, and yet Western medicine has gotten so far that a medical doctor does not even have more than, like, I think 20 hours of nutritional coaching and teaching.
Crazy.
10-year span of becoming a medical doctor in higher education. 20 hours? What?
Yeah. It's a joke. It's a joke. You do that in a weekend class. It's a joke.
Do 10 hours. It's a joke. You're good.
Absolute joke. It just, every time I think about that, it's so crazy. But the system has to be set up like that so that normal folks feel good, I guess. I don't really even know how to describe it. Literally handing over their power to their health. Yeah. They literally hand it over. Whatever you told me, doc.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, they don't even do the things that some doctors tell them, right? Hey, you got to cut your cholesterol. You got to do this.
I don't even want to do that.
So if I'm a doctor, I don't even blame them, first and foremost, right? For, like, you pay the price of admission to get that white coat. That's the price you pay, right? Once you get that white coat, you got to defend that white coat. You just spent half of your life doing that, right? And then Your patients fight back when you tell them, hey, eat more fruits and vegetables and whatever. You know what? Forget it. Just take this pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just take the pill. We'll go from there, right? So again, I digress, but that from the long-term health perspective of that, right? And then even from the short-term performance aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I it's just you mentioned Chris Paul, which is really interesting to me because he attributes his ability to still be in the game to the switch in his diet.
Yeah.
Like Chris Paul, what if you did that when you were balling out in New Orleans, my guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if you did that way earlier? What if we do that with our kids? What if we stop force feeding our children, our babies, with the same trash that got us where we are?
Yeah, bro. That's, oh man, I can't stand that concept. And when because I'm 25. What you must be what?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. So the fact that people are now obviously having kids, right, that we grew up with, and you
Yeah.
see them and you're like, dude, this person is probably more unhealthy than they were in high school, and that was terrible. And now they're having kids. Okay, so their epigenetics right now are at the worst state that they could have been as that individual, and you just gave that DNA over to a new form of human, and that
Yep.
thing, you're planting a seed for an oak tree with poison ivy seeds. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to get something great, but you're giving it poison.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even then, the body's adaptability, right? The resilience of a child in the womb is ridiculous. But
Ridiculous.
then for the first 10 years, just feed it all the same junk and say, oh, well, when I was young, I liked that too. Haha. So here's a Pop Tart.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
so
Oh, kids love this stuff.
yeah. But why? Why are you not questioning that? Why are you not realizing that you are not happy with where you are, and you're just leading that person down the same path?
Let me tell you, I'll put my theory out there because they're so disconnected, bro.
Yeah.
That's why that's number one for me. They're disconnected from source, all source, sun, Mother Earth, like, but all source they're disconnected from. And in fact, so much so that they don't even realize that they're in discomfort. At 25, 30, 35, definitely a 40, 45, that discomfort, that dis-ease that doesn't show up as like, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow, is ignored. It's not, it's, oh, yeah, that's just what happens when you get old. How many times you heard that? Yeah. Oh, just wait till you're my age. Right? How many times you hear that? Bro, I'm 30 right now. I'm telling you right now, I'm in better shape now than I was at 25. I can guarantee that. Right? Why? And so the piece you said about genetics, bro, is so freaking key because two things are happening. First and foremost, DNA is literally a log of decisions that were made by your ancestors. That's all it is. And you now have the log. Yeah. And it's your turn to make the edits. And you, up until 25, these are the decisions that you made. So you edited it down. You didn't edit it up. You edited it down. And then you pass on your seed, right? And then you influence them to edit it where? Down. Bruh, no wonder. Oh, that just runs in my family. Yeah. Yeah, because you guys have all been making the same stupid decisions for how long now? And let me just say, not even stupid. Let me just say this: misinformed, misguided, misled, straight up lied to in a lot of cases, right? In some cases, you can't even blame them. I have a lot of individuals in my 10-day solitude vacation juice class course that I do every month. And one of the main things I hear that really like makes me happy is like, yo, my mom Like, I didn't even say anything. And my mom came up to me and was like, hey, I noticed you, like, you're eating a little different. You're doing something different. Like, our parents just never taught us how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I fed you the way I fed you because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to see you do something like that. And in fact, like, can I have some juice? Like, that thing, like, literally, like, it makes my heart just like, man,
Yeah.
it's not because they wanted it that way. It's because they weren't taught any other way. They weren't introduced. They didn't encounter any other way, right? I was the same way with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? My parents, look at it. You know how long it took my parents to like try some just like juice. And I'm not saying juice is the entry point for me. It's not necessarily an end all be all. It's just the entry point, right? It's what the tool that I use to help people reconnect back to their gut.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. And when I say reconnection and how I approach this, first and foremost, I reconnect people back to that. Because once you do that, there's actually the decisions from that point, nutritionally speaking, moving forward is actually really easy. It's real easy because we look at your location. What do you have access to?
True.
Right. If you live in New England, you're not going to eat like somebody that lives in South Florida.
Yeah.
And, you just have access to different things. What is your background? What are you used to eating? What enzymes is your body used to producing? Right? What is your goal? Short term and long term.
Yeah.
Right? What is your goal? And what are you trying to do? What are you trying? Where are you now? What is the demand on your body machine? Right? So we look at but we take all of these variables into consideration, right? What is your DNA predisposed to?
Yeah.
Right? So we got to look at so once we reconnect back to the gut, once we clear that up, once we get you to a place where you elevate your consciousness just by doing that, you elevate your ability to receive that feedback, that call and response. It's like, oh yeah, no, that wasn't good for me. I'm not doing that again. Or yeah, I love that food, but like it just did not. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Or you know what? I couldn't do this green lettuce or whatever. I couldn't do that before, but like now I actually kind of like it. We switch that up and get back to ground zero, and then we build from there. And truthfully, it's real easy after that. Real easy.
Yeah,
I utilize partly. Oh, my fault. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just saying it comes together quicker.
Way quicker. And it's a lot easier, a lot more effective. I hardly ever count calories with anybody anymore. Yeah. I might do that if we're doing something super specific, like you tell me, hey, I need to do this for a show. All right, fine, we can do that, right? But I don't even like doing that. I don't enjoy it. It's not sustainable.
Stay clear of those clients. If I talk calories with somebody, it's a very overarching, like, listen, I don't want you to count them. If anything, I'm going to tell you, here's a little baseline, and you should stay in this little range. And the only reason I'm telling you that is because you asked specifically, and because number two, I think you just might need a little bit of understanding of how many calories are in a food. Not that you need to sit there and count all of them, but it is powerful to know that like certain foods have a certain amount of calories, and that's why naturally you should just eat not as many of them. And for that little sake, I talk calories maybe I would say with 1 out of every 10 clients. 1 out of every 10 clients I may talk calories with. Every other person is, listen, let's just actually improve the quality of what you're eating, because that in and of itself takes them to a reconnection. I've never thought about it in that direct sense though. And that's once again, like why it's always good to connect and hear other people's like terminology and how they perceive the concepts that they're teaching. Because it is vitally important to understand that, to bring this way back to when you were talking about the 3 brains. When people get anxious or energetic and they say like, oh, I got butterflies in my stomach, people don't realize what that means, right? Like you just said, people don't understand that the gut is what you're supposed to listen to in a tough situation. So that butterfly feeling in all essence is actually just excitement of the microbes in your gut moving energetically around. That's all it is. And if you actually have more microbes in your gut than you do human cells in your body, then why would that not be our main source of energy, right?
Yes, sir.
That source is then stimulated by what you give it, right? So its ability to I always think from the perspective of like something, this was living, right? But now it has a lesser energetic field, right? So the more energy filled foods that you put in your body, the more vibrant your energetic field becomes. That aura that you feel, right? When you walk in your room, if you eat bright foods, well, goddamn, you have a bright aura.
Yes, sir. Yes,
If
sir.
dark, colorless, tasteless foods, then, well, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have a dark aura. That's just common sense. And one thing I've been studying lately, I would love to get your perspective on this if you have background knowledge, is the doshas in Ayurveda. And
Yeah.
the doshas breaking down into basically like different types of people. You know how like Westerns will say like metamorphic, mesomorphic, right? So doshas, there's these 3 different doshas, and it can go both personality and mentality. They can, all 3: personality, mentality, body and physique type, but then also just naturally when they are at their highest rate of being balanced or imbalanced, right? So the summer seasons versus the winter seasons, the 10 to 2 during the day versus the 2 to 6 during the day, and these circadian rhythms. And that is something that if you haven't really tuned into and learned more about, I would highly recommend, because it speaks to a lot of the same concepts. And the whole point of it and the whole teaching behind Ayurveda is that you're supposed to get back to the dosha that you were as a child. You're supposed to be moving towards balancing your doshas as a child before you got so imbalanced by the world, before the traumas hit, the education system hit. Like, what did you naturally do? What did you look like? How did you react to things when you were a child? And that actually speaks to who your deepest source is. That's your source. And I heard an amazing quote the other day: if the source is the reason for everything, then being connected to your source is your ability to be anything. And I was like, whoa.
Run that back.
yeah. If source is the reason for everything, then being connected to the source is your ability to be anything. And it's like, wow, it's all the same source, everything. When we tap into our source, that's tapping into everything around us. It's feeling the person's energy next to you. It's feeling the energy of these, materialistic things around you. It's feeling the energy of the food that you put into you. That all just, when you start to have those conversations, like automatically your energy just starts to increase and elevate. And that's part of, I think, coaching and teaching too, that you've probably found, right? Is just having these conversations with people, and they start to connect the dots of, where things in their life are falling and why. And all of a sudden they're more hooked. Like, what else do you know? What else can we do? What else can I put in the juice, right? And it starts to get that snowball effect. It starts to become exponential. And people decide, okay, well, now, I'm reconnected. So now how can I perform better maybe at work? How can I perform better physically if I do go to the gym? That's really cool that you take that perspective of reconnect find out what their performance goals are, which I'm assuming can be mentally or physically
Oh,
daily,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And then it's long term and it's
Yeah.
short term.
Yeah.
Long term, we got to make these things. These are must do's. But
Right.
short term, how do we facilitate making that happen right now?
Correct.
And I
Correct.
think that's where, overall, just education's, that's the underlying key. If someone's educated about a situation, then they know, and what I always say is how to make the best decision where you are with what you have and with what you know, right? Or take what you can, while you can with what you have, right? Like those sorts of things. It's not about being perfect all the time. It's
Right.
just about,
No.
yes, it's sold to us that way. It definitely is sold to us that way.
Right. And a lot of us would take the perspective, of like, if I'm not perfect, then what's the point? A
All
lot
in
of
or
folks
all
run
out.
into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
If I'm not perfect, what's the point? Why even do the fundamentals?
Yeah, that's a really good point. We've adopted this all in, all out. It's black or white. It's up or down. It's left
Yeah.
or right. It's good
Uh,
or bad, right?
Kind of reminds us of a society in general, right?
Yeah, and
Man.
that's it. It's either blue or red. Like, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
either Republican or Democrat. Like you
Right. Right. Patterns, patterns,
yeah,
patterns, patterns.
man, patterns are crazy. So you're taking that perspective and you're saying that your entry point with people to reconnect is juice, and you feel that that allows them to connect to the source, right? Get their microbiome in check, making sure that their gut now has a connection to their heart and their heart to their brain and vice versa in all three ways. Um, which I teach sometimes, like the vagus nerve, right? How can you stimulate that in other ways too, like cold
Sure.
showers,
Sure.
plumbing is a good
Yeah.
one. Just simple little tricks that people can throw in here and there, but ultimately
Yeah.
you want to be able to do that long term, right?
Right. So if I may clarify a little bit on my entry piece is actually not juice.
Okay.
My entry is not actually juice itself. That's
Mm.
just a vehicle that we're utilizing right now. If I find a better vehicle, bless you. If I find a better vehicle, I'm all for it. Right.
Mm.
Um, we can't do water for a number of reasons. Water fast used to be the thing, right? We can't do water for a number of reasons because people are far too active and
Mm.
cannot take time away from the world, right?
Yeah.
Or they choose not to, they can't, whatever the situation is,
Yeah.
from the world. So they need the micronutrients and the energy that juice can provide without the cost,
Mm.
without having your body churning all the time, right? So we can remove that work, take that off of your body's plate, literally give it a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And your body actually doesn't take a vacation. What it does then is utilizes all of that manpower, woman power, whatever you want to call it, horsepower, gorilla power, whatever. And then it starts to repair, rejuvenate at the cellular level. So our food should do three things.
Mm.
It should nourish, it should help us eliminate waste, and then it should also repair and rejuvenate at the cellular level. Juice does all of those
Mm-hmm.
with the least amount of cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I use juice. But what I really focus on in my first step, and also the entry level, is not just drink juice. Anybody can drink juice, right? A lot of people drink juice that aren't really there, but it's actually, we focus on the how, right? So you mentioned cold and hot, cold and shower. So in 10 days, what I actually teach is how, not just the juice. The juice is just the entry point, but what are you doing when you remove that solid food, when you remove the things that are taking up energy? What do you put in its place? And what we put in its place is certain activities like hot and cold showers, like intestinal massage, like dry brushing, like grounding, like diaphragmic, I can't, it's, you know the word. Please help me out here.
Diaphragmatic breathing. Yeah.
There we go. Ah, man, it's my Ghanaian tongo. Sometimes it gets me now. Right? Like and we put all of those things in place to teach individuals that like actually making love to your food. Right? So the process of it actually starts with our senses. It start with our eyes, hearing the crack of the bacon, hearing the smell of the bacon, hearing the right, yeah, or seeing the bacon and smelling it, and that gets us ready to digest, right? So when we slow down the foreplay process, we actually digest better, right? So it's all of those things. I teach the how. Right? Once we get all of that in place, and while the how is being taught, you're still getting everything you need and more from juice without the cost. You see what I'm saying? So we go through that, and that process in and of itself wakes people up. I don't care if you've been like a high level athlete or you are my mother, right? All right. I'm not saying my mother's not a high level athlete. Let me take that back. Like she's not out here playing LeBron James sports. That's what I mean, you know. But it's for everybody, and that's what I was looking for. I'm cut the noise. It's 20% of things that get us 80% of the results. We can't be perfect. We can't do it all. But what is that 20%? Right. So yeah, that's to clarify a little bit on that point, because I don't want people being like, oh yeah, drink juice. All your problems are solved.
That's the cure. Yeah. Yeah, you have to know the how and the why behind the modality, right? That's what's up. I love the perspective to understand that there's people, once again, that like, it's not that they can't step away from society, but they're choosing not to, right? So, okay, water fast does not make sense. And in that case, how can we nourish the body with what it needs to operate and perform day to day in whatever that person is doing, but also do so from an efficiency standpoint, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Right? How efficiently financially can you do it, and how efficiently can your body actually do it?
Yeah, your body, time, all of the above. You know what's really interesting too is that going through that process, people without focusing on it hit all their goals. They hit their weight goal, they hit their physique goal, they hit their performance goals. I've had some of my best workouts during a feast, during a cheat, where I'm like, where is this energy keep coming from? What is, bro? I'm putting up, like, this is easy. I'm recovering so much faster. And people are like, well, what about the recovery? Well, that buildup of information is actually keeping you from recovering.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah, that's wild, man. So much stuff we can talk about, bro.
Yeah,
I know we've been chatting for a minute, so I want to respect your time as well, man. I don't want to just ramble on, but yeah.
I'll definitely want to go a little bit longer if you got time. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So, from your perspective, your day to day, right? Real quick, because it just pops in my head. I love the reference to making love to food, and foreplay, because I was this is my ADHD kicking in, right? No, so yesterday I was walking through the food court in the mall, and that concept of hearing things, smelling things, seeing things, and all of a sudden my mouth was salivating. And I was like, yo, it's really crazy how much that plays a factor. But if I wasn't tuned into my source, I would have never had the consciousness to be like, yep, I'm just gonna go eat. Like, that would be you would bypass the thought of what was happening and you would just go take the action and not know why you did it. Which I didn't eat. I just had to use the bathroom and it happened to be next to me. But and to side tangent, I feel like you would really find this hilarious. The first time I did a long-term water fast, I sat in a food court. And yeah, it was not easy. But long story short, I went and did this like yoga class. It was at the mall my sister was working at. I went, she had to work all day. So I just sat in the food court and I took my laptop and I did my work and my stuff on my laptop all day. It was a Sunday. And I sat in the food court and all I did was drink water for 12 hours. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it was very liberating knowing that you could just sit there and not have to be, fall victim to all that nonsense that's in there. So huge side tangent from, where I was going, your day-to-day perspective, and in your life, what you're doing, it sometimes is completely irrelevant to 90% of the people who are listening, but it can still draw a picture and perspective for how you choose to fuel yourself on a day-to-day. How many meals a day do you eat? How many times a day do you juice? How often are you working out, and how much sleep are you getting? Because those factors play different. And someone might just say, oh, well, I'm just going to eat juice, but they might have a completely different lifestyle than you because they only wanted to read the headline. So I like giving that actual deeper dive to let someone understand what you're doing day to day for you.
Sure. I think that's a great question. And I want to start out by saying I really believe in seasonality. I believe that their seasons exist for a reason. I believe that there's a season for everything. That's why, as you know, in the training space, we periodize, right? You move through seasons. You can't be in the same season all the time. Okay, so I want to say that because when I say stuff that I say, a lot of people take that as being like that is a 100% all the time, right? That's just not the case. Nothing exists that way. We talk about the yin yang principles. Nothing exists that way. A lot of what I say is because people are on the range, a spectrum, are so far in one direction that we've got to bring some harmony back into their life, right? Once you have that harmony, you got to do different things to maintain that harmony. Okay, so I give that as a caveat, or as a whatever you want to call it, precursor.
Yeah, bro, yeah. You would love the Ayurvedic stuff, bro. This is
like it's funny you mentioned that. I didn't want to go too deep into that because I'm diving in as we speak.
Okay, I'm brushing, like all that stuff, oil pulling, tongue scraping, like all these.
Bro, that's all on the list. So
yeah, funny. Bro, like
if you can send me any sources you have on that, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Any sources obviously there's tons out there, but like whatever you've like found really helpful, I would appreciate. Appreciate that. Yeah, all of that is on there. So funny. And when I say on there, meaning that through my 10-day solid vacation juice piece, that's like we have what's called a scorecard, the daily activities. And everything you just mentioned is on there. So it's wild. The gut does not lie, right? The gut does not lie. It'll teach you things you didn't even know you needed to know. Yeah. And I regress, but back to what I do. Okay, yeah. So I always reserve the right to grow, right? You might hear this and hear me 10 years later and be like, but in 2021, didn't you say, sir? I'm like, right? I always reserve the right to grow. Yeah. If you had met me 10 years ago, I would chow down to some meat, man. I was like twice the size, literally. I was like probably twice the size. Like, actually, I was twice the size. That's funny now to think about it. And I was just doing things totally differently. So that was like what, at 20? Yeah, I was doing totally differently.
You were at
now I still train pretty much daily. The level of intensity varies, but I trained pretty much daily. And this is what's common for me. I consume about one meal a day. By when I say one meal, I mean one solid food, maybe cooked meal a day. So it may be cooked, it may be raw. I obviously, when you look at the spectrum, cooked is that's going to require the highest cost with the least amount of benefit, right? And not that it's not beneficial, don't get me wrong, but it's your trade-off is greater, right? So I might have one big, but I don't deprive myself of anything. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, it's like, wait, so you never, no. When I go home to my mother, she lays down that African cooking, you best believe I'm going to chow down, right? But I've set up my system for that. And by the way, I feel the difference too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely feel the difference. But I make that conscious decision of like, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be home and I'm going to enjoy one of mom's cooking per day. That's my big meal per day, right? Yeah. Up until then, I do what I call airplaning in and out, right? So I'm going to start off with the lightest, like most benefit, least cost. So it'll be something, because you got to remember, we were first breatharians, and then we were liquidarians, then we were fruitarians before we even moved to any of the rest. So I literally will walk that way. First part of the day up until noon is for hydration. I might get that hydration from fruits. I might get that hydration from coconut water if I have access to it. If I'm on an island or something, I get pure coconut water. You best believe that's what I'm hitting, right? I might get it from juices, right? With a preference towards, depending on what season I'm in, with a preference towards green drinks, green juices. I typically, as a general rule, will drink my greens and eat my fruit, keep the fiber with the sugar, right? So generally speaking, that's where I am. Out airplane out, no way, no how, before noon, am I getting in anything outside of that, unless I make a conscious decision to do that, right? Unless I'm like, I am having breakfast type, and even then it just makes me feel, I just don't like the feeling, right? I'm having breakfast with the guys and this is what we're doing. Then that might be my meal for the day and I'm out. I'm out. I'm done after that, right? But even then, that food coma type of like cooked food addiction type kicks in. Even for me at this stage, bro, it's so funny. So that's my first half of the day is for hydration up until noon. Why? Helps me eliminate everything else before. Helps me get the system ready. Helps me get the gut ready. It just gets everything in line, in alignment. From about noon till I'll say about 6, maybe 8, if I'm having my big meal, that's preferably right in there somewhere. Preferably the first half of that, 12 to 4, versus the second half. But again, these are all general things I build on the run. I'm good call and response in my system now, so I know what's up. Yeah. After 8, I'm out. If anything, I'm having some sort of broth, something light, something real light, if anything. And then there's times where I might have, and I might, during that 12 to 8, for example, I'm gearing towards salads. And at that point, I'm done with fruits, by the way. Okay. Once I transition from fruits to something else, I'm done with fruits, just because of the way fruit moves in the body. Right? It's like fruit's a very fast car. I'm not going to put a very fast car behind a very slow car. That's going to cause jams in my system, and I'm going to feel that, right? So that's generally how I'm doing it. I am now testing a product that's going to allow me, because I can't, it's hard for me to juice on the run like everybody else. And when I'm moving around, so I was really against like processing of much of anything, but I realize we live in an imperfect world and we got to utilize some stuff. So I'm testing out a product, a green product that's going to provide the best quality, like I said, green, because I can just eat my fruits on the run. That's going to provide the best quality green drink for me to mix in. And I also have upgraded I've upgraded my water, upgraded my food, upgraded my air, literally inside. Like, so it's all of those things. So that's my general long explanation of what I do.
No, I like that. The last thing, sleep, because it obviously all of those decisions affect your rest and recovery. What is your sleep pattern and efficiency, I guess you could say?
Sure. I'm right around like 8, 9, 10. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm up real early. I'm an early riser. Like, I hate being in bed too long. I never feel more rested being in bed long. And I think for me, sleep is about rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I'll say this is probably the category that I could improve the most.
Okay.
Right. I don't sleep long. But I sleep deep when I sleep. So my goal is to get into REM sleep as quickly as possible, stay there as long as possible. And then when I'm out, I'm out. I don't nap. I don't do any of that. It's the quality of that block of time. And when I do all of those things that I described in terms of how I move throughout my day, I don't even have to think about sleep, man. I mean, the thing I do have to think about is intentionally setting myself up to go to sleep.
Yeah, same.
Rather than passing out.
You feel wired. Like you could just keep going. Yeah.
Energy is high, bro. Energy is high. So I have to tell myself, bro, yeah, you still got plenty of energy, but like rhythm, you know. So especially sometimes when I'm on juice or fruits for a while, I mean, my energy is ridiculous. So I almost have to kind of in a lot of ways, I plan my workouts around that so that I can burn as much of that as possible before before I get into the late night, right?
That's, yeah. A lot of things that you've said are right in line with kind of what I do on a day.
Yeah, I could tell, man. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably a lot more efficient and a lot more by the book on your day until noon. But I've caught myself sliding into that rhythm a little bit more, where like my body's not really seeking food in the morning. It's more about just understanding that if there's different ways to put it, but if you take your meditation and movement and you do some of that like in the morning, it stimulates you as well to the point where you don't feel like you need food. Where if you just wake up and zombie apocalypse over to the kitchen, like you didn't even think about it, you're just going to eat for what reason. So I've caught myself doing that, transition a little bit more, because for a while I was very potent on having a good solid breakfast to get me through the day, and then a good meal to just make me like zombie out at night. But I realized that that's definitely not beneficial in a sense. I've also realized that just in my day-to-day life, working at the gym, clients in the morning, classes and clients at night, sometimes if I eat a big meal during the day, then my classes and clients at night have a completely different Dylan than the ones in the morning.
Yeah.
Because that big meal will definitely slow you down. So yeah, I've been playing with that a lot and trying to figure out what rhythm works for me. And ideally, I like to work out between like 10 and 1, 10 and 2 during the day. I definitely, definitely speaks to me the most. And then eating a meal after that. But it's funny how, you know, so many factors play in, like who do you live with? Because if you're going home and like dinner's a regular thing at your house and you're having this big old meal, like that affects your decision making throughout the day.
1,000.
You know, if you're married or you know, have kids, or you know, are running a business and you have to be at a certain place at a certain time in the morning, and that's affecting your ability to wake up and, you know, figure out what's for breakfast and what are you going to do? Are you going to hydrate properly? What have you set yourself up with to, you know, eat on the run? Do you have fruits that are readily available, or are you just becoming a victim of like, well, I was driving and then I just pulled over and I got this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And to highlight a bit what you're saying here is like, yeah, used to be kind of decided for us when we were predominantly farmers, right? That rhythm was set.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're clearly not going to be working at high noon. Like, come on now, right? So that was a lot easier. But now when we have all types of factors like job, right? Like, what do you do for a living? Do you have kids? Do you have family? Do you have all this stuff going on? Which is why I don't have, again, I say we reconnect and then we make all of those other decisions around your life, right? We not even around your life, but we consciously decide, because it may be, bro, it may be that the job that, let me speak for myself, the job that I'm working, maybe I need to get out of that for my health.
Dude, I fucking love that you just said that because I want to tell people that so much. Like I really desire to just tell people, like they come up with that excuse, well, I can't because of my job. Well, your job does not mean more than your health. I'm sorry. You should not have to sacrifice your health and well-being before anything you do. This should not be the case. And I've caught myself doing that. And every time I do, I feel it. And I'm like, nope, I got to draw that line. You have to draw that fine line and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. Or I quit. If you're someone in that, you know, sort of, you know, position, corporate job.
Yeah,
which you did, right?
That's my story. A story for another day, though. Another day.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to save that background story. I definitely want to, you know, chat more and hear more, collaborate, do something, figure out how we can stay connected and intertwine our networks a little bit more, man.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I really appreciate the time. And the conversation. You know, I think for people who are doing this and are, I don't want to say level, because that has a connotation that I don't want to necessarily use, but just are, you know, at a particular part of their journey, right? Because I think this is all a journey. It's very funny when you look at, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I was fighting around that like 2 years ago, or like I know exactly what you're talking about. But you know, it's funny that you found a different way of dealing with that, right? It's kind of like water. And, you know, you don't know what's coming up. You may go left around the boulder. I may go right around the boulder. You may go above the boulder. I may go under the boulder, right? But we still got around the boulder. So I say all that to say it's really refreshing and nice to connect with individuals that are on the journey, wherever they are. They're, at least they know they're on the journey, and to connect. Now I have a lot more questions for you, right? This is more focused kind of around me and what I'm doing. So I have a lot more for you as well. So let's definitely reconnect. Let's dive in a little deeper. Shoot, we might even need to bring Air Doobie through here to
we can do it. We can sit right here. We can do a 3-way.
Yes, sir. I plan to be back in. You said what? So you call it SoFlo? That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, SoFlo.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Slow flow.
For
That's
this
nice.
SoCal, I claim
Yeah.
slow.
I like it a lot, man. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. That's nice.
Let us
That's
know
nice.
when you're coming back here, man.
I'm planning indefinite. At this point, I got a couple folks down there, and it makes sense for me, to also to leave the Socialist Republic of California. That's please don't kick me out. I still like it here, but it is a mess in NorCal Bay Area. It is a mess, especially specifically San Francisco. It's a mess right now with everything that's going on. So I'm don't be surprised if you see me in a different city here pretty soon.
Okay, word. I look forward to that, and I definitely kind of encourage it. No.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, just good luck with that on whatever you decide. I'm sure you're connected enough to follow your gut, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. Well done, sir.
Always trying to connect the dots. So let everyone know where they can find you, how they can learn more about you, and if they wanted to get into any sort of conversation with you or any of your programs, classes, whatever it is, where
Yeah.
can they
Yeah.
find you?
You can find me at Cut the Noise, all together, all kind of one phrase, no dashes, no periods, nothing like that. At Cut the Noise on all platforms. I prefer Instagram. Is the one that I check the most, so that's the quickest way to get in touch with me right now. Send me a DM. Like, I love connecting with folks. Comment on something. If I don't respond, hit me again. Right.
Yeah.
But Instagram is the best way to get in contact with me. To tap in with any my programs, the best way to tap in with me is through my 10-day solid food vacation juice feast that I host on a monthly basis. I will not be doing that in October. However, I'm converting everything there into a full course
Cool.
for those that want to self-serve. They want to do it on their own. Right now, how it is live, so you can ask me questions, so we can go back and forth, like we just talked about. There's so many variables. Hey, what about this? What about this? So that we can go back and forth. Provide you with everything you need. A full textbook lays out everything from recipes to descriptions on the activities you should be taking part of. I lay it all out for you to make it as easy as possible. And when you connect in the live version, all right, you get the added benefit of being in a community, right, where you get to meet other folks that are doing the same thing that you're doing, because you will meet resistance. The world is not set up, right? It's not set up for us to be doing things like this. It's just not set up. It's not good or bad. It's just not set up for us to be doing that. So community support is everything. So I would encourage you to, at the very least, hit me up on Instagram so you can see kind of what's going on. And then if it's right for you, if it's in alignment, connect with me on that 10 days solid food vacation juice feast.
I love that.
And a way to do it without juice coming up here pretty soon, by the way. So if you don't have access to a juicer, you can still do it.
That's dope. That's dope. So that's what you were talking about with trying out some products. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Connecting the dots. Word. Well, man, thank you for your time, bro. Like, honestly, it's been great to connect and slowly learn more about you. I still want to dive like deep into like your roots and your heritage and all of that. So we'll save that for another time. We'll definitely hop in. However, I can help facilitate, answer some of your questions, and maybe, reciprocate, get on your platform. I'm down for that. Everybody who watched and tuned in, go check out Cut the Noise. You gotta learn a thing or two, at least from this conversation, but if not, from everything else that he's putting out there, free education. He's definitely inspiring for sure, in in a lot of ways. So check him out. Thank you for tuning in. Always remember, I am, we are, life is limitless. Peace out.